After the coronavirus brought even more scrutiny over the Chinese government, some are calling for more than $1.7 trillion in debt to be paid back to the United States. One America's Jack Posobiec reports from Washington.
We are very excited to welcome here to One America News for the first time Jonna Bianco. She is the president and founder of the American Bondholders Foundation. Jonna, thank you so much for coming on with us today.
Thank you for having me.
I want to get into the issue of the Chinese debt that they owe to the United States, because I have not heard anyone other than you breaking down this story. Give us all the details for OAN viewers.
Well, first of all, the pro-China lobby is very massive, and that's why you haven't heard about it. They do everything to tamp it down. Bottom line, governments issue debt, just like we have U.S. treasuries. Governments issue debt, long-term, short-term. In fact, 30, 40, 60, 80 year. In Europe, China is now issuing 100-year bonds. So 100 years from now, people that hold those, that pass those down generation to generation in families, will still be collecting the interest payments and the principal on those government-issued treasury bonds. That's what the American people hold. 20,000 in 46 states. China refuses to pay the American people.
Okay, so 20,000 in 46 states, and this was, we're talking 19th, early 1900s when this all got started. How much money, if you could put a total number on it, a price tag, if you will, how much money does China owe these American bondholders?
At 100%, based on how the courts have ruled on defaulted sovereign debts, on defaulted contracts. Currently, and remember, these are gold bonds issued in gold, payable in gold, that were due to mature in the 1960s. It's a little over $1.6 trillion.
1.6 trillion, and that's incredible. So how has China responded to you bringing this issue forward, or if anyone tries to actually receive what they owe?
They ignore it. They will not communicate with you until you keep pushing their buttons. And then in 2006, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a congressman or the U.S. government. They simply ignore the issue and tell you, go away. We are not paying it. In 2006, based on official State Department correspondence to collect this debt in 2006, the Ministry of Finance and Treasury in China sent a scathing letter back to the U.S. Embassy regarding these bonds and said, we will not pay any debt of a former regime, which these were originally issued pre-1949, prior to the communist regime that we know today, the Chinese Communist Party taking power. So they blatantly disregard and ignore successor government doctrine. That would be no different than 50 years from now, we would have a new president in place. Whether it was a Democrat or a Republican party, and the U.S. government saying, you know what, those were sold during a Democratic presidency. We have a new regime now. We have a Republican presidency. We're not going to honor that debt. It's the same principle.
Now, bottom line, from your perspective at your foundation, what would you like to see the administration doing to do just that, to hold China accountable?
Well, we look at what has happened in the past 6 months with the Wuhan virus and the trillions of dollars of economic loss that we have suffered. I commend President Donald Trump for what he did to support Hong Kong autonomy and the executive orders that he issued. But at the end of the day, John Doe and Jane Smith across the United States is saying, that's great, Mr. President. I'm glad you're standing up for the Hong Kong people and the Taiwan people. But what about the American people? You promised an America First agenda. We haven't seen you holding China accountable.
Jonna, thank you so much for coming to us. Tell me real quick, where can people go to get more access to you, to follow you, and follow your work?
AmericanBondholdersFoundation.com is our website, ABF USA on Twitter, and ABF Bondholders on Facebook.
Thank you so much, Jonna. Thank you very much for being here.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.